In the heart of the night, this world will burn bright. We will set it alight. In the heart of the night, in the heart of the night, this world will burn bright. We will set it alight. In the heart of the night.
Hello everyone, I am Anthropomantic Fiend, and I do horror-related things on the internet. Today I am bringing you what I consider to be the best movie in the 30 Nightmare Movies box set, and that is The Inflicted. And this is a 2012 movie. I suppose you could call it a slasher movie, but it doesn't really follow that kind of thread. But it's got some really big names in it. It stars Doug Bradley, who you will of course know from Hellraiser, Sid Haig, Captain Spaulding, and Bill Moseley, who you'll know from the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and House of Thousand Corpses, and Devil's Reject. They are, of course, all amazing. This movie was made by Incisive Pictures. I haven't seen any of the other movies that they've put out, but after I watched this, I went to their YouTube channel and watched a bunch of behind the scenes on this, and it made me love this movie even more. So I'm going to link their YouTube channel underneath this, because I love this movie. The director, who also wrote the movie and he stars as its main character, he did a great job. The thing about this is, if you really want to go into this movie and experience it to the fullest, I really can't talk about much without spoiling it for you, but I'll just say this movie is amazingly well shot. It looks beautiful. Yeah, the camera quality is great. I told you in my Samuel Bleak review that that was my favorite score for this movie. I take that back. I think The Inflicted has my favorite score out of any of these. That may be because I watched the interview with the composer that worked on this movie, but I don't know. It's just beautiful. It's obviously synthesizers at times, but they've got, a bass, cello, violin, and some vocalists on it as well, and it just feels huge. This movie, which I know is made on a relatively lower budget, feels just epic in scale, and I love that. The acting isn't always the most convincing, but you get very invested in the characters anyway. You just sort of get lulled in by the storytelling, and so I really don't care if the acting feels a little fake some places. The gore doesn't look super real, but, they sort of tell you what's happening in such a way that I was remembering the first time I watched this movie when I went in for the second time, and my memories of this movie are far more extreme than the second viewing, where I actually looked a bit more at the gore and sort of saw through the cracks a little bit more. But the first time, it was just brutal. It was still brutal this time, but it was more brutal the first time. Gore effects, not the most realistic, but I can see the thought that was put into them, and it looks pretty good. In terms of the extremity of the movie, this movie sort of makes you think you're seeing more than you are. It just tells you what's going to happen and tells you about all the horrible stuff that's happening and gives you enough gruesomeness to go on that it fills out the rest of the picture in your head, and it's disturbing. It's just a very disturbing concept for a movie. And after I watched this for the first time, this is probably the only movie in the box set that actually lives up to the 30 Nightmare Movies title, because I had 2 nightmares about the goings-on in this movie. So if a movie can do that to me, I'm gonna say it's a really good horror movie. Summer School is still my favorite movie in the 30 Nightmare Movies box set, but this is the best made movie, and I love it. I really love it. I think they're actually tied at this point. Summer School is my favorite fun horror movie. This is my favorite quality horror movie. And there's really good use of sort of symbolism and reflecting other things throughout the story in the movie, but I'm going to get to that now. So, literally the entire movie. Spoilers. But yeah, before I get into spoilers, watch this movie. Just go and watch it. It's... if you can get past some of the fakey stuff at the beginning and some of the weird cheesiness, it's just a really, really great movie. Okay, now on to spoilers. Basically, the plot of this movie is that a kid named David, his dad, who is played by Bill Moseley, drowns his little sister because she was apparently not supposed to be born, and the mother died in childbirth, so he blames her, so drowns her, and David feels cheated out of his family, and so he goes and kidnaps this woman. Her name... Melissa. Kidnaps her. Melissa, the woman who plays Melissa in this, performs amazingly. I will say that as well. Kidnaps her and uses her to try to create the family that he never had, which is disgusting. But you sort of just see how this character has been damaged to do the horrible things that he's doing, and he's just sort of talking Melissa through what he's doing to her and why he's doing it, and it's completely rational. It just lacks any kind of sympathy for humankind. The performance as David is super creepy. Also, he kills a bunch of other people because he thinks of humans as insects. You've got, I believe it's Giovanni Lombardo Radice as Lorenzo, who is this police officer. And he's just a joy to watch because 1 second he will be vicious and cruel to... he'll just be screaming at his underlings, if you will, the people who are working for him, and just screaming at whatever criminal he's arresting and just telling him that they're not going to get any sympathy from him. And then you'll get like a scene where he's talking on the phone with his daughter, and he's just the sweetest guy. He's got just this personality that's just a delight to watch. And it's the same with Sid Haig as Dr. Gardner, because he plays Melissa's psychiatrist, and I can't take him seriously because I think of him from his other roles, mostly Captain Spaulding. But he's just this super, super nice psychiatrist guy, just the sweetest man, and apparently that's actually what he's like. The woman who played Melissa said she would actually love to have him as her psychiatrist, but there's just sort of this little bit of sort of laughing, haha, it's Sid Haig, but he's playing this nice character, but you just sort of warm to this character throughout the movie, and he's very nice to watch. Yeah, all the kills are good. They're just good slasher horror kills. The way this movie goes, it really makes you think about the idea of and issues of childbirth and abortion, because you've got the whole thing that's David's motivation, and he actually ends up later holding Melissa hostage with their daughter Jessica, and it's just so uncomfortable to watch because he's like making these very nice dinners for both of them, and they're just sort of sitting there blankly, and it's like a beautifully candlelit room and everything, and he's just done all this nice stuff for her after doing horrible stuff to her before, just to create this scenario that he wants in his life. It's creepy. It's really creepy. She ends up trying to escape a few times with little success, and then she snaps and she kills their baby, which is one of the most horrible parts of the movie, and it crushes her as well. She ends up running away and ends up in like a mental hospital and just starts seeing visions of David telling her to kill herself and join their daughter in heaven, and it's whoa. This movie gets very heavy, but that's part of what makes it good. And then there's the relationship between David and his dad, because his dad is the reason that this horrible stuff is happening, but they have like this camaraderie that would be heartwarming if you didn't know that they were both murderers. Dad will come in with like a gun and be like, "Here, son, go out, live your dreams, find it." And if you took that out of context, they even play it like it's just this wonderful, heartwarming scene, and then you remember, oh wait, they're both murderers and horrible people, and they don't see themselves that way. And the policeman even comes to talk to Bill Moseley's character, Mr. O'Hara, the father, and they're talking, and he's just like, "Have you ever been a father? Do you know what it's like to lose a child? Then you can't possibly understand what me and my son are going through right now. So I'm not going to tell you anything." Doug Bradley's character gets, 2 scenes? He doesn't stick around that long. But, he's good in the movie. I just wish there was more of him. Even though his British accent makes absolutely no sense in the context of the American setting of this movie, but neither does Giovanni Lombardo Radice's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, please correct me if I'm wrong, his Italian accent, so I really don't care. I think I've gotten to almost everything, but there's the prostitute killing scene. So you've got this one sort of one-off scene with this guy, I think his name is, he's Jamie Miller, the copycat killer, and he's this guy who's trying to imitate David O'Hara and pass off this murder as something that David O'Hara has done, and he's gone and just sort of found a prostitute and gone to this warehouse, and he gives her this drug that numbs her but keeps her awake through everything that he's going to do to her, and he pulls out a bone saw, and you don't see any of what happens, but he's just sort of said, "This is what I'm going to do to you, and you're going to feel all the pain," and then it cuts away, but it's just, it's this scene that's out of nowhere and doesn't really add anything to the plot, but it's just so gut-wrenchingly uncomfortable that it still haunts me. So yeah, that's a thing. I'll just say there's some really cool symbolism used throughout the movie. There's this doll that shows up, and just sort of like doll and toy symbolism for sort of the lost children that both David and his father have, and that Melissa has. And then you've got a party scene, which is just sort of prefaced by these images of masks, these masquerade masks, and then it just becomes like this modern house party. There's just little slivers of symbolism here and there that just sort of tells you things about the characters in the scene that I really, really like. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you. I'm just going to say it's very ambiguous, but if you really think about what's been said in the movie, it kind of works. And it's just a beautifully shot scene. So yeah, The Inflicted. It's a brutal horror movie and a little bit campy, but overall a fantastically made movie. I highly recommend this. This and Summer School are the two best movies besides Night of the Living Dead, which I'm not even reviewing because who hasn't seen Night of the Living Dead at this point? Those are the two best. Please watch this movie. Please check out Incisive Films. Really cool movie. Please check it out. Thank you for checking me out. I'll hopefully see you in another video. Thank you for watching.